Do it because everyone will come to see it. Everyone will come needs the inspiration, the push, the display of guts and nerve and vulnerability. That is it for you to do this. Do it for me personally because I need that. Do it for your grandkid because you're sure as fuck not going to encourage him to back out of anything. So that's the word I got from Girl Boss. And there are some other people in here who know this particular Netflix show called Girl Boss. Anybody seen it yet?
Yeah.
Well, you will. Oh, the Pools are here. Yeah. So whose daughter Becky is in it. So we spent nights looking at this show called Girl Boss, and it's just a great series. And I got a note from Becky just right now about that she's going to be back in a week, so we'll be talking about that. So let me just, I'm sort of copying a guy who uses this particular motif of performance. Baldwin Gray was his name. He died a few years ago, and you could YouTube it and see his style. It's amazing style, and this is just blatant consumerism and shout out for Wes Shook and Krista Shook. So that's what I'm going to be drinking tonight. It's a little like why are we even doing this? This is WYSI, WYG. What you see is what you get.
Right.
A little endorsement for them. So, and I'll be sitting down and standing up and doing all sorts of stuff. But let me start by telling you if you have any anxieties about plays, I'm here to relieve those for you. Because up here, you'll be able to watch the time. You can watch and I talked to Ann about this, and I talked to Marty about it. And we will have an intermission, so and that should happen at about 15 minutes after 7. But don't start screaming or anything if I go over, all right? So, and this I picked up from my yoga classes, because and some of the yoga people are here. I go to these yoga classes, and they've got the clock sitting up there, and I was working at not looking at the clock while I'm in my yoga practice, because I obviously want to go into Shavasana immediately. That's the corpse pose. Which on, this is really kind of dark, on Good Friday I went to yoga, and I asked the instructor if we could just go in honor of the Christians, if we could go into Shavasana right away. And like many yoga instructors, she just laughed, and so I thought it was a little sacrilegious. But, so you'll be able to watch that and know where you're at with that. And then my lovely wife Martha is here, and she's going to be playing for us. She'll take us in and take us out of those sets. And then I have a whole group of relatives that came, 2 of them at least, from Arizona. I don't know if they came just now. And Gary and Valva came from North Bank Cave. And where's Sister Lalonde? There she is. That's my Franciscan cousin. She's a Franciscan sister. And she helped me to meet the ladies out at Holy Spirit Retreat Center. And so she's part of my posse, because I'm in, I call myself a free-range Catholic. And it's just a wonderful way to be. Especially if they ask you what church you go to. You say, well, I'm a free-range Catholic. What that means. So, but I'd like to inform you that soon, at the Vatican, Pope Francis will straighten this guy out. So, here's the way it was then. Pat and Mike are in the boat. up in County Antrim, I believe it was. And they're out in the boat, and Mike turns to Pat and he says, "Look at there, will you look at that? Look at that out there. It's one of those things that the genie comes in. It's the bottle that the genie comes in." "Oh, but Jesus, will you look at that?" "Well, what do we do with that then?" "Well, we rub it, you see, and then the genie comes out." "Oh, well, let's get a hold of that. We're having a bad day of fishing anyway." So they get the genie, or they rub the bottle, and the genie comes. He says, "What wish would you like, lads?" "Well, my wish would be that this entire lake would turn into Guinness." So he goes like that, and then Michael starts rolling back and forth. "Oh, Patty, what have you done now? What's the problem? What's the problem? I got a whole lake of Guinness." He says, "Well, now we're going to have to piss in the boat." So Michael is in a pub in New York City, and he goes into the pub, and the bartender comes over, and he says, what can I help you with?" "Bartender, I'd like 3 shots of Bushmills whiskey right here, straight up." So he comes over and puts the shots down, and Michael shoots them back. 1, 2, 3, drinks them. "Thank you very much," and he leaves. Next day he comes in, "I'd like 3 shots of Bushmills whiskey here, if you don't mind." 3 shots, bang, bang, bang. Gets up, walks out. This goes on for a year. So then it gets to be somewhat of a problem figuring it out. But one day Michael comes in, he says, I would like 2 shots of Bushmills whiskey." So he puts the shots on there, he drinks from the bartender, says, "Excuse me, sir, I mean, it's none of my business, but you come in here for a year and you're drinking 3 shots, and now all of a sudden you're only drinking 2. "Well, no problem. It's not a problem. It's not a problem at all." He says, "When I left the old country, I told me brothers that I would have a drink with them every night." "Oh, did you? Is it a problem? Did you lose one of your brothers?" "Oh, no, nothing like that. I quit drinking." So because it's different, certainly different than a one-man show, because it's different, you're curious how you would explain it to someone. You could say that it's an evening of spoiler alerts. Because what I'm going to do is systematically go through the work I've been working on, the writing for the last few years, and then tell you what happens. So it's kind of speed through it, you know. You can speed through it. So take a look at the clock here. Yes. And this is a book I wrote, and Terry, by the way, Terry Davis here wrote a foreword for it. It's really sad though, because, not sad, and Jim Van Hammer also, but when the people that are writing the notes for the book, that the quality of the writing is better in the notes, it can be really rough on you. This is and it's important, this book is important because I'm going to be referring to it quite often here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about, not talk, but I was at the Negro Hall of Fame, which is in Kansas City. And it's the Negro Leagues. And Ray Dowell there, I met with him, who is a curator, and I told him about the book, and there's a story in here that's related to the museum. And that is that I have a chapter in here called The Uniques. And so this represents what an elevator speech would be, because I'm going to do one right now. So, The Uniques. It's a town in Idaho, and the coach, he's a coach and a teacher, and they're starting a new team, because they have so many kids that want to play baseball. So he has a grand idea that we got the kids there, he said, we're going to call ourselves the Bucks, after Buck O'Neill, a Negro League baseball player back in the day. And it fits the Idaho thing, because these kids also are engaged in hunting and all that business. So they get their team ready, they have practice, and the coach gets home that night and the phone is like, buzzing, ringing, and his wife is there with him, and he answers the phone. I see, thank you, yes, okay, we'll take care of it. It's 3 or 4 calls like that. And so then he stops. Then the next day, he gets the team together, and he said, well, we were the Bucks, but we're going to change that name. We're going to be called the Uniques, because we are. We're unique, a unique team. So the wife is listening to all this, and she, later night, she says, what's with that? What's the name of that team? What does it mean? He said, well, I got those calls about that, and using the N-word, that they didn't want their kids playing on a team named after a black man. Oh, well then, what'd you do? Well, the Uniques, I think that'll be fitting and everything will be cool. 'Cause it's not about being politically correct, it's about baseball. Well, she said, who are the Uniques? Well, they're a Negro League team that played in October 1942. Well, don't you think they'll find out? No, because racists never read page 2. I did a really evil thing. I went online and found the home of certain white supremacist groups, and then I took it down in that area. So I hope they get it. So now you should know what an elevator speech is. So the concept is, if we're on that skyscraper in Dubai on the top floor, and then we're going to the bottom floor, and if one of the pole lads, any pole lads here tonight? That pole lad producer, then you pitch your story to the ground floor. And by that time, you have to sell that producer, he or she, on your story. So that's the term, the elevator speech. So I called, there's a theater in Minneapolis called Frank. And I have a play I'm going to talk about here for a second. And I called her up. God, I just do better if I'm on the phone than emailing. Yeah, 23-year-old interns that throw your stuff away all day long. Throw it over here. So I said, well, I'm a writer from St.Peter, blah, 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 blah. And I said, I was hoping I could do a little bit of a spiel here for this play I've written. And then there's a pause, and she said, you know what, you actors and writers, I mean, I don't need an elevator speech. I need $250,000 because I got to produce this show. So I said, oh, well, I'm sorry, but I've got another project I might like to talk to you about, and that's a project called The Happiest Man in the World. And I was wondering maybe I could interview you for that, so it's kind of the way it goes. We'll talk about that show as well. So then later on, there'll be an intermission, and you have money. Yeah, of course, you would get the C note. Is that his or yours? Yeah. He's got the 100. Then you'll be voting on the first act, the plays, and the second act, the plays and the TV show. Then the second act is the screenplays. So you'll be doing that. Now, I'm kind of jumping around here, but I want to give you an idea of how I go about some of this stuff. I had an idea for a television show based on the show CSI. I mean, this is back in the day, whenever that was. I think it's 2005. So I had the idea ready, and I was trying to figure out a way that I could get it to the next step. And I was in New York City, up at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Out in front, they have people who are selling books and selling manuscripts. So I found this script, which is from CSI. Now this would probably mean, by the look of it, that it's an actor's script. And part of the deal with selling these things and getting it to the next level is it's kind of like you're trying to convince them that they should know who you are. So you try to pattern your writing and everything that you're doing on that, so they'll go, oh, that looks interesting. So a producer of that show, or one of the writers, might see this. In other words, I wrote my screenplay or my treatment in the same style. And the way I did that is I went through, there were 3 subplots, So I went through it, and I took the first subplot, and I labeled it A, and then every page that dealt with that subplot, I put the yellow mark on. So then I had 41. Then I went to the next one, and put B, because your TV shows you're watching, you know how they go from move from one event to another. And then I went to the last one, C, and then did 10 pages on that. So to many people, it's not very glamorous because it's like you're a puppet, or so. But that's the way I wrote it. I knew what my subplots were, and I had those. And then I just went, okay, I'm going to do 41 pages of this, and then 16 pages of this. And then from that point on, you're stuck in the rest of the game, and that's what Terry Davis knows this game is literary agent, because you're always on the hunt for a literary agent. And then this one got so far as Art Petrie did live in Las Vegas, and I was told that one of the writers for this show is on the golf course. There's a golf course thing. So then the next, I didn't do it, but I was going to do that and go out on the golf course with my finished script and then like sneak over and like drop it over the wall. It's daunting, the interference that goes on with it. So that's the CSI one. I have to kind of measure which ones of these I bring up. It's kind of scary. The auction is here, and this is a play I wrote that was actually produced out in St. Clair. So this will not be here because it's already been done. And, so there are good things that happen too. And this is another show. This is another show that's been done. A one-man show I did called Matt Talbot Needs a Miracle. And this is about an Irish aesthetic, is the way he was described. He was a very religious man, lived in Dublin, went to Mass 3 times a day and all of this stuff. And he got his fame from, he quit drinking. And that was kind of a rare thing in Ireland at the time. So, and I did that show a couple of years ago, and I did it in Mankato, and then I also sold it to Irish Fair. And it was a great selling job because it's about a guy that doesn't drink for Irish Fair. They couldn't turn it down. Hey, there's just one thing that doesn't involve people getting drunk? That's not fair to them because that's a very good show. I'm going to jump to another show that's actually been produced, and I think some people have seen it. This is a play called Dark.
Woo!
Yeah. Oh, they saw it, sure. So anyway, and I'm going to rename this too, by the way. I'm going to change the name and call it The Good Priest, because it's about a good priest. That whole crowd just gets sort of forgotten. And I'm not doing that because I'm stepping up for the Catholic Church. God knows I wouldn't do that. But I like characters. I like priest characters because they're all like In Doubt. If you remember In Doubt, there's a scene where Meryl Streep is there and she's crying, weeping because she's talked about. And she thinks that this priest is abusing this young boy. So she's weeping, and the young sister comes up and says, "What's wrong?" And she says, "I have doubt." And it was doubt about whether or not the priest did it. It was doubt about the Catholic Church, and it was doubt about her involvement in the Catholic Church. So it's all there. Then later on, the writer was asked, well, did he do it or not? And he said, I don't know. So to reach that level of writing is what I really try to do. So in this play, the priest, there's abuse in the house and drinking. Gee, who knew? And so there's abuse in the house, and the priest steps up and comes in the house and says, hey, this got to stop. You can't have this guy in here. He's abusing the kid and all that stuff. So then, the play is resolved in a rather tragic fashion, but true nonetheless. And I thought the guy that might produce this is why I started thinking, like, okay, who might grab this piece? And I thought about that lawyer in Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Anderson guy. You know that name?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one that's riding out into the countryside and what are they doing? They're getting names and they're putting this string of abuse together, and then I think there might be some lawsuits and some money movement. You know, in other words, they're bringing some of these parishes to bankruptcy. I don't care about that, but I thought he might jump at producing that. And I might do that as well.
Oh, yeah, right.
How am I doing, Terry? Doing good. Oh. Terry also had, we did a thing with, he was bundling screenplays and trying to sell them in California, meaning a bunch of his and some other people. That way, the producers could say, well, we've got 7 of them here. Can we find one in this group? And I don't know what happened to that. Terry knows. And this is the play I wrote about, this one's on the edge. It's called Damien and the Wolves. Damien and the Wolves is also a priest character, and this particular character was a chaplain at a state hospital, like coincidentally they have here. So then this priest was working with a young man who was locked up, and he didn't want to be locked up anymore. So he made a provision and asked them, the authorities, could I go to jail? Could you just take me out of here and put me in prison and let me play out the years that I have based on my sentence? Then the first part of this play is 3 or 4 concerned people who say, you don't want to do that. If you do that, they will take you and put you in the prison, and you will be in the area where the baby rapers are, and the snitches, and all of the people that will be the target of people in the prison, to kill, to maim, to whatever. So they take it into consideration, and then he's not released, but he's sent to prison. Then at the prison, there's a construction job going on by outside construction. And in there are tools that the construction people are using. Then the second act is about a riot in the prison, and then the main population people are now moving through the rest of the prison, and they know where they are. They know where the snitches are, and they know where all these people are. So in the process, these bad guys are taking drills, acetylene torches, and they're going to kill everybody in that ward, in that area. So that's, the play ends then with those masked welding masks on, and the acetylene torches are blaring, and they're coming and they're going through the bars to get to them. And then Damien the priest is also in there because he didn't leave when he had a chance. And then, well, yeah. And then Tim Barry, a friend of mine, said, and it's a musical, right? I'm having a little trouble moving this outside of moving it from here to that floor. But that started with this is kind of all pieces together. I wanted to do a play about Damien of Molokai, who was a priest that worked with the lepers in Hawaii, in Molokai. And then I thought, well, I don't have any lepers. And then I went, oh, I've got sexual predators. Right? And if you think, well, what do you mean? Well, that reaction is where we're at. And you know why I did that? Because I think the tenet in Christianity that you don't always find in other places is forgiveness. So I wanted to take folks and put her right there. Now, do you want these guys to get in and mutilate these guys and kill them and all that stuff? Or do you want to figure something else out? So that was the appeal to me. But my brother-in-law over here is working on the music. So the other thing that's going to happen here is I wanted to use the analogy of Mandela. And if you watch House of Cards, they use it in that. And MSU each year will bring in Buddhist monks. And then they do these Mandela. It's a sand drawing. Probably as big as that, or 2 or 3 of them. Then it's a long tube and there's colored sand inside of it. And then they make these sand drawings for hours. I think it takes them 3 days. And it's on sand on the floor and the students come in and watch. And I said to the Buddhist monk, I said, well, do you guys speak, do you speak English? He said, Piquito. I said, okay, I got it. So, but these sand drawings, then at the end of the 3 days, there's another ritual that they do with their Himalayan horns, and then they sweep the sand up. And it's just like this when it happens. They sweep it up, and then they put it in little bottles. You get a little bottle like this with the sand in it, and then you're supposed to take that and put that in a water source, a lake or a river, and then once again we get the circle of life and it circles down through it. So the Mandela. So in organizing this particular event, we talked about performance art. So through the course of the show, you're not going to get to vote on that. So that's what we're going to do.
You can't put it in the lakes.
These are TV here, but I'm going to do it anyway. What do I got over here? Oh, that's the other play, yeah. So this is, through the course of this, the different genres. One is reality TV shows. I don't even know how I hit on the idea, but I thought it'd be great to have a reality TV show, and the point would be to find the happiest man in the world, the happiest person. Then the week would start out, week 1, you're setting up who's going to be, who are they going to be, the happiest people in the world. And I thought of a guy, Marty knew the guy too. He was a janitor at MSU in the performing arts area. And I thought, God, this guy really seems to know something. He was always happy, always very gracious and kind. And I thought, yeah, he could be my first guy that I would take, do an interview, talk to him about it, and then get an EKG and wire him up and see what happens. Maybe he's the happiest guy in the world. And it all came from a concept from a French Buddhist named Marcel Ricard. And you can find his book, and I think it's called The Happiest Man in the World. So he went to the Himalayas, and then he went in a cave for 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days, and came out. They took him to Madison, Wisconsin, wired him up, and he had more beta waves than anybody in history. So I was talking to my neurologist about this, and she said, yeah, I could get the same result by giving him Valium. It's pretty clear where she stands on a lot of this stuff. So, but I was at a retreat at the time, and I told these guys, I said, I think I could beat that guy in being the happiest man in the world. I think I could kick his ass. And how would you do that, Pat? I said, well, I would start sending him emails and dissing him. You know, so you think you're the happiest man in the world? No, you're not. You're a deadbeat. You don't know what you're doing. And then keep working on him until I just drove him down until I could take it at that point. So where this applies is Wes Shook, who passed, what, a year, 2 years ago. And he had a lot of stuff going in film and music and all that. So I said, I wanted to talk to you about a project. Can you meet me at the co-op? He said, yeah. So I got him. We sat down for coffee, whatever. And then I told him about the concept. Always graciously open and kept delving to see what the idea is so that he can help. So then he said, well, there's a film already called Happy, and you can find it on Netflix. I said, oh, really? So then I put it on Netflix, and it was my freaking idea. I'm not very happy about this. So the film itself is wonderful, because it talks about, and Ricard is mentioned in there, but it talks about this, and how the Danes are the happiest people in the world, and why, and blah, 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 blah. So, but then when I met with Wes again, he said, I said, well, yeah, I kind of get an idea, and then the guy's already been done. He says, no, that's not true. That's what I mean. Because what you're describing is not that. It's different. It's conceptually similar, but it's different. And that's the kind of stuff that the why am I even doing this helps. Because in my group, and the people here in the Van Fee, there was this continual just keep doing it, so that you get away from the production part of it and get into the process part. And the people that I find that I admire, Greg Abbott is one of those, a playwright from this area. And yeah, you know what I mean. He just keeps, I think tonight they're doing his play called Play With Your Food. Is that right? So anyway, and he just keeps doing it. He's got kind of a musician, a garage band musician attitude, you know. He just keeps doing the plays. And I said, well, Greg, can you help me? I've got this play, Damien and the Wolves, and I don't know if I can help you with that. He said, oh, full lengths? I said, yes. Oh, I'm hopeless with those. I quit doing them. They're so hard to market to get somebody to do it. So, but he's an inspiration to me because he just keeps working at it. So that's the way that works.
Yay.
You can steal that idea if you want to.
Don't think I haven't put it in a special place in my memory.
Terry has also been really supportive. I remember going to Terry's house when he lived in Rapidan, which was a garage, and he had motorcycles all over the place. And Marty and I were over there one day. He came walking out from the back, and he had his pajama bottoms on, and you know. I said, Terry, are you writing a play, or are you in one? So it's a little early for a particular bit, but when I said, Terry, you can do that if you want. And if you hear something you want to use and you want to go for it, you know, I could care less. I mean, it's part of the process. But this is a technique that happens that, because when I started writing, I got really, it was all about ego, well, it still is. But I mean, it was about, oh, somebody's going to steal my idea. And the one thing you learn soon is that these writers, they're not going to steal your idea. They got plenty of ideas of their own. But what you're supposed to do is you put your manuscript in and mail it to yourself, so that you have some legal recourse to say, well, no, wait a minute, this is postmarked, and where it is on here. Do you remember what was it?
2008.
2008. So we're going to open this up right now. I have no idea what it is, and see what I thought was so valuable. Oh, I do that, you know. That one. If you watch Breaking Bad, you'll know that the writers of that show are really great with tension. So that's what was just happening. I couldn't watch that show, you know what I'm talking about. Went up on step ladders, chasing flies, and wonderful writing. That's why you guys get, have you actually watched the show? You not watched the show your daughter's in?
No.
Are you kidding? Oh, shame,
I'll go home
sister.
and do that tonight.
Here's my cousin, sister in the line. We get to break out a little shame for her. Your daughter is in the show and she doesn't see it.
Yes.
I'll take care of it. Oh, it is. This is a screenplay I wrote called The Sorcerer's Scorebook, which Terry helped. The greatest help Terry gave me is to change the title, because he thought it's about a young boy who has a scorebook, and this is the elevator speech part of it, and whenever he writes in the scorebook, whatever he puts down actually happens. So it doesn't take long, and I know we got some baseball people out there, and if that's what happens, that kid needs to be a Cubs fan. This is before they won the World Series. So Terry said, why don't you give the kid a nickname, and it was Stats, as in statistics, and then, that will be your title. So then, the other thing about that story is that The Sorcerer's Scorebook is the last story in this book. And so what you're hoping is that a producer will take that story and then go, oh, this could be a film. And that happened with Terry also helped me with this. That happened with a group of short stories called Rope Burns, book of short stories. And then out of that came the boxing movie, $1 Million Baby. Okay? $1 Million Baby, big hit, Clint Eastwood movie. And so when I saw that movie, I went directly to the bookstore and bought the book. And the book is not called $1 Million Baby. Well, it had some of that, but it was called Rope Burns. Then I opened it up and I read $1 Million Baby and saw that, well, the characters in the movie aren't even in this story. The two characters, the Clint Eastwood and the Hilary Swank character. And then I started reading the other stories, and the other characters in the movie are in the book from other short stories. So I immediately went, wow, these Hollywood guys, they can bring it. My esteem, I went, oh, it's not just a bunch of losers out there. And then my writing friend, Matt Wirtz, he said, well, you know who that is, don't you? And I said, no. He said, that screenplay was written by Carl Haggis, and he got best screenplay adaptation. And then the next movie that Carl Haggis did, he wrote the movie Crash. And if you know Crash, that's also almost like a tapestry. It's got different stories. So some of that stuff just carries through. And short stories are a vehicle for many people. The Brokeback Mountain is a short story. There's that one by that Irish woman, Flannery O'Connor, right? And she's got a short story that was made into a movie, who I thought for years was a man, Flannery O'Connor. Yes. And I actually told the professor at MSU that I thought it was a man. So, that's okay, I took care of business, I read it after that. So anyway, you see how that process moves, and I think what's going on here is the sort of iceberg thing, whereas you think, well, how much thought really goes into that, and it does. It's not just me that thinks that way. So, but then if you also remember, a few years ago there was a movie, big deal, no dialogue. There was any dialogue. Well, they had subtitles, but it was a movie made in the old black and white fashion. And I thought, well, how the hell did they sell that? You know? So anyway, this is a picture that my wife took of me, and she's going to play us out. remember I put that in the script?
Will do.
This is a little, the first part is called an Aaron Boat song, and it's slow moving about, just imagine taking a boat from Ireland to the Aran Islands. And then, no, the other way around. So you get to Ireland and then there's a little jig in the middle and then. you go
So, it is Elevator Stories by moi. We are in Ireland 5 years ago, Marty and I are. And the first place we stopped at was a place called Moriarty's in Dingle. And she's kind of shy about playing and all that business, but in Ireland, everybody plays. Everybody plays and sings. It's just not this hierarchical, oh, I didn't go to Lincoln Center. So, I talked to the bartender. I said, listen, my wife plays violin, and she's a little hesitant, but if you could encourage her, I think she'd play. He said, well, we got the lads playing here tonight. We got the guitarist, and then Irish pipe, and then I don't know what the other instrument was. He said, well, have her bring the fiddle in, bring it in. And I said, well, you think they're going to mind? He says, hey lad, I own the pub. Have her bring the freaking fiddle in. So she brings it in, and then the way they did, I was curious how they were going to deal with it, but they were set up, and then she got a violin on that, and then they're here, and then she's over here, and then pretty soon, the microphone is just like leading the mic to her. So her confidence obviously shot up, and then she played with them. Then we moved up the coast to a place called Doolin, which is in Galway, and I only say this because a lot of folks in here that actually know that area. So we're in the pub, it's packed. I mean, there's twice the number of people in here in it, an awful lot of young people, and they're having a great time drinking and all that stuff. And then there are 4 pieces once again in the front. And to give you an idea what happens when, in an Irish pub when the musicians play, is they go like this. They're all sitting, and there's absolutely nothing about performance in the way they do it. They just sit, they play, and they go like this. That's it. No lights, no dancers, and they play another number. Then occasionally, remember at one year you said did that, they had just picked up. So the fiddler and the guitarist are there, and then they're talking about songs that they know or don't know. And so the guy goes, all right, I think I know that one. And he goes, is that it? Yeah, that's it. And then they play. So Marty says, this is after a few Guinness, I think. She said, I think I'd like to play my violin. So, okay. It was out in the car, and out, got it, right? And she gets up and she plays one. Once again, they put her off to the side. Must be a technique they use to make sure somebody like me isn't trying to get in. And they hear her, and this is something about violins too. I mean, different violins have different sounds. So I'm not denigrating the existing violinist, but she was really gracious. So she said, well, here, you take my pickup. So then they took the pickup to amplify the violin. And they put it on her violin. And then this happened.
Oh, you're a saint.
And then she goes, the first girl, and when she hit that fiddle, they all do step dancing in school, but they don't do it, you know? But now they've had it through jars, and she hit that, and the whole place was like, oh, you know? I think we're at a point now where if you choose, you've got plenty of money, the hot shot is not written yet. The hot shot's about this is like relative to the hot shot's about my mother's sense of humor. And the plot of this is that there's an octogenarian who's really bad. She's passing. She's in a lot of pain, and the doctors don't know what to do with it. And so they decide that they're going to give her the hot shot, which is the morphine, to take her out of her misery. And there are people in here nodding, they know what the hot shot is. So then, but she's overhearing all this lady, and she's not sure what's going on. But now there's a Sarah Palin group in town, and they're protesting euthanasia and death by committee. They do not want this to happen. So there's rioting outside. Then the lady who's sick gets up, goes to the closet, pulls out a black powder rifle, goes over to the window, and then shoots. And in so doing, she kills the guy. So then the second act is her trial. She's found guilty, and then it's a state where they have capital punishment. And so they're going to have to euthanize her and put her to death. And she's brought in on a gurney, and then they have to get the right chemical mix so that they can kill her. And that's how that is. And it's a musical, right? Right, so if you choose to put your money in here, that's fine, the play money, and then please take a break, have a drink, right?
Great.
Yeah, right. Okay. Thank you. Well, I mean, this part's over, but you come back, and I'll go through the movies. All right.